My name is Jamal A. Harley. I am the owner and founder of Royal Oak Comics. We have 3 titles. We have Who's Bad, our superhero action adventure. We have Conquer the Galaxy or Die Trying, our space opera comedy. And The Ballad of Valkyrie Sinclair, our cyberpunk post-apocalyptic thriller.
So tell us about each comic book and how each one starts the arc.
Absolutely. So we have Who's Bad. That's basically what if a henchman of Lex Luthor ended up with Superman's powers. So that's what happens to our main character, Dave McBain. He's a down-on-his-luck henchman, gets the powers of the world's greatest superhero, Toa, and thinks his life's on easy street. But we like to say more powers, more problems, because now he has vengeful superheroes, jealous supervillains, and of course his old ex-supervillain boss is after him. And then we have Conquer the Galaxy or Die Trying. That's basically where an evil galactic emperor was defeated, but his mind was uploaded. But somehow his mind got uploaded into this cute little robot. Now he's going around the galaxy trying to reclaim his empire, but absolutely nobody's taking him seriously. Then we have The Ballad of Valkyrie Sinclair. That's where Valkyrie is an ex-government assassin. She's pulled back in for that famous one last mission, but it goes completely off the rails when she accidentally misses her target and hits the president, which unravels the mysteries and conspiracy of how the world became post-apocalyptic.
So why did you want to create these series and also self-publish? Tell me the whole story, how it started. So.
Absolutely. I grew up on comic books and cartoons and sci-fi, and I just absolutely love that stuff, whether it's TV, comics, books, love it. So I did music for a while, and I still always kept writing, and when the pandemic hit, I had the time, and it's like, okay, let me try this out. I've got to put at least one comic out into the world, and I did start with Who's Bad. It was successful on Kickstarter. Issue 2 and Issue 3 have both been successful on Kickstarter, so far I've had 7 successful Kickstarters, so I'm going to keep at it and just get all these ideas in my head out there. Also get to work with these amazing artists who take the vision in my head and sometimes, a lot of times, make it better. So that's a really fun process to work with all these great artists and meet all these people and come to conventions like this. It's a lot of fun.
So I have 2 separate questions. Tell me about Kickstarter. Why is Kickstarter so helpful for new creatives and current creatives? Why is that community such a great community?
It's a great community because it helps you not only connect with people, but get your ideas out there. And you can start with just some cover art and just a few pages and a very well written synopsis of what your book's about, and you can go out there and reach people that are into whatever you're putting out there. When you don't have to finish a project to start a Kickstarter. The goal of Kickstarter is to get the funding to finish it. So that's amazing. So put your idea out there, people gravitate towards it, you get money to finish your project, maybe even finish another project as well. So it's a really cool concept.
And why are cons like WonderCon, Comic-Con, LA-Con, why are they so important to self-publishers like yourself?
Oh man, it's great because you get to meet, first of all, you get to talk about your comics with other people, and you get to see how that makes them feel like they're really into it, or it's a cool idea. A lot of times people will buy your book and come back and tell you, give you feedback in person about what they liked or what they may not have liked about your book. So you get that instant feedback from people, and that helps you as a writer, as a creative, whatever. And yeah, definitely also making connections, networking, all that good stuff, and just having big banners like this, people see it, and even if they don't stop, if they see it enough and then they see it somewhere else, it starts to get in their head. So just be seen.
What's your hopes and dreams for these comics?
Hopes and dreams. Hope for them to be adapted into cartoons, movies, TV series, books, spin-offs, all that. That's I just want, and then to create more ideas that I have that aren't yet funded to get those out into the world as well.
So how can people find you at cons and also on social media?
Cool. You can find us at royaloakcomics.com. Also at Royal_Oak_Comics on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Yes.
And was there anything else you want to mention about your company or the comic books?
We just love superhero and sci-fi and trippy sci-fi and stuff that kind of makes you think, and different perspectives from all sides, as well as well-rounded characters that are flawed but striving to do better in their own sense, whether you agree with them or not.
Hi, I'm Todd Fahnestock, author of Edge of Your Seat Epic Fantasy, and this is my Eldros Legacy series, okay? The Eldros Legacy centers around these 5 misfits who have all come together to stop the end of the world. Why? Because the giants are coming back. Now, 2,000 years ago in the world of Eldros, everything was ruled by these 15-foot tall, highly intelligent, highly magical giants. None of your tall as a mountain, dumb as a rock kind of giants here. These are like next level species. All of the mortal races, that's us. Humans, dwarves, elves, luminants, shadowvar, brightlings, all of them were servants to this powerful race of giants. Then there was a revolution. The war was long, it was bloody, but in the end, the mortal races prevailed. 50% of the giants were killed, 50% of the giants fled and magically vanished. Now, 2,000 years later, we have feathered our nest quite nicely on this giant-free continent. We've got human kingdoms, luminant kingdoms, dwarf kingdoms. In short, we rule the roost. And we have completely forgotten about the giants. But the giants, being immortal, have not forgotten about us. And in the shadows, they have built an army of nightmare pulled from the dark. And they're about to unleash this upon us. And when they do, the only thing standing between them and absolute victory is this group of 5 heroes led by a man who just might be unkillable. That's the Eldros Legacy.
And where did you come up with the idea of it, and why did you have to write it?
Oh, well, I have to write it because I'm a writer and I love stories, but essentially this was a multi-author shared world idea. So me and 4 other authors got together to found the Eldros Legacy, and each one of us chose a continent. We've got Noxanon, Pyranon, Draconon, Daemonon, and Lathranon. And all of these continents each have their own author that started them, right? And so mine is Noxanon, and these are the books in Noxanon. There are actually also other books written in the other continents that you can go and find.
And tell us about the other series that you've been recently
Tower of
working
the
on.
Four? Absolutely, come on around over here. So this is the Tower of the Four, and it centers around these 4 main characters who have all come to the Champions Academy, which is the only place in this fantasy world that you can go to learn magic without killing yourself. There's a trick to it. If you don't know the trick to opening your soul block, which is where the magic is, then your soul will bleed out and you're dead, okay? So we have the brutish warrior druid from Fendir. We have the ice princess of Keltivar. Oh, and I should mention, they're from 2 kingdoms that have been at war for 30 years. You put them in a classroom together, the knives are coming out. They hate each other. Then we also have the scrappy little street urchin in the background here. She hates them all. She thinks they're all entitled jerks, doesn't want to know any of them. Lastly, we have the main character of the first episode, Brahm. He is just a young man who, for his whole life, has longed to be a quadrant. That is to say, a wizard. That is to say, a graduate of this academy, okay? So he's been waiting for his letter to Hogwarts this whole time. He finally gets it. He's going to the Champions Academy. He's so excited. He's going to become a quadrant, except no, he's not. Is that trick I mentioned to safely opening your soul block without killing yourself? You have to bond as though they're family with 3 other people. He's stuck with this train wreck of people that hate each other, right? So, as they're all struggling to come together to form this family, to form this bond, this quad, they stumble across a secret about the academy that nobody knows. The 4 kindly super wizards who bring all the young people here to make sure they don't hurt themselves aren't kind at all. This isn't actually a school. It's a slaughterhouse. That's Tower of the Four.
Perfect. Do you want to talk about any of your other series?
Sure. This is, oh yeah, we want to do this one? So this is my Whisper Prince trilogy. And essentially, 7 years ago in the Thearan Empire, this dimensional doorway opened up, and these demonic creatures called Slinks started tumbling through and killing everybody they could reach. The protectors of the realm ran to try and stop them, but their swords bounced off like sticks, so the refugees fled to the easternmost city of Fairmist. And there, the Slinks cornered the refugees and were about to slaughter them down to the last person when the lead slink and the Emperor met. And the lead slink says to the Emperor, I tell you what, you send me one sacrifice every month from now until the end of time, and I won't utterly destroy your entire culture right here and now. And the Emperor's like, done and done, right? Fast forward 6 years. We've been making this regular sacrifice, and our hero, 16-year-old Gray, has a question. If the Slinks could have killed us, why didn't they? Why would they make a deal? That doesn't make any sense to me. So he starts asking around. The Emperor hears about it, sends men, they grab this kid, they torture him, at which point they let him go and they say, don't ever ask that question again. Now, being a kid, he's just scared out of his mind, so he desists, right? He's like, okay, and he drops it. But over the course of the next year, these whispers start to rise in the back of his mind. At first, they're just gibberish, but then they resolve into words, and he realizes it's the very elements talking to him. The air, the ground, the trees, the stream. And then he further realizes he talks back to them in their language, which apparently he's the only one that can do. They'll do anything he asks them to do. So he's like, magic, all right. Now I'm going to get the answer to my question. So he starts asking around again. The Emperor hears about it, sends men to kill him this time. The Slinks. We've not seen the Slinks for 7 years, not since we made our devil's bargain with them. They all of a sudden are back in the world, and they come after Gray like he knows something, or he's about to know something. Gray pops out of Fairmist on the run to do 3 things. 1, not die. 2, figure out this new magic he's discovered. And 3, finally get the answer to this question that nobody seems to want him to ask. And the answer is not what you think. There's a twist in the story. That's Whisper Birds.
Any other series?
I've got some one-offs over here, and I've got The Wishing World, if you want me to tell you about them. All right, well, let me tell you about Summer of the Fetch. So, this is one of my favorite books of all time. It is not like anything else I've written. It is a road trip, coming-of-age story set in 1988 with a twist of magic. Here's the pitch for that. So, it's 1988. 17-year-old Eric is rock climbing in Canyonlands, free soloing, and he is 80 feet up on this cliff face, and he's lost his way. He can't find his next hold. His arms are starting to melt. His legs are starting to shake. And then he spots it. This bomber hold that's just out of reach. He's got to jump for it. So he jumps for the hold and misses. As he's about to fall to his death, these 2 hands reach down. They grab his wrists. They pull him up and secure him on the hold. He clambers to the top of the cliff, and standing there is this beautiful red-haired woman, and she says, I'm your fetch. And he says, what's a fetch? And she says, I'm a spirit of fortune and good luck, and if you dance with me, I will make you a legend over the course of the summer. Anything you've ever wanted to do, do it. Anything you've ever been afraid to try it, and I will make sure you succeed. But at the end of the summer, on the eve of your 18th birthday, you will die. And he reaches out and takes her hand. Thus begins the Summer of the Fetch. So, we also have The Wishing World. And The Wishing World is my middle grade novel. Okay, this is for 10 years old and up. And it has essentially 11-year-old Lorelei and her 9-year-old brother tumble into the Wishing World, which is this magical place where children become whatever they imagine they can be in their mind. So if they wanted to be Supergirl, they could be Supergirl. If you wanted to be a stalk of broccoli with big googly eyes, you could be a stalk of broccoli with big googly eyes. Now, not only that, but the entire world itself is made up of things that children have imagined. So you've got like an elephant graveyard right next to a life-size sandcastle that people can live in, right next to Tarzan's jungle. Whatever it is, it's there. So it's kind of this whimsical patchwork world that is pretty silly and sometimes a little scary because children do have nightmares. So one of these nightmares comes out of the Wishing World, grabs Lorelei and Theron's parents and pulls them into the Wishing World. So they have to go on this adventure with Gruffy the Griffin, Pip the Toucan, and Squeak the Mouse to try and get her parents back. That's the Wishing World. All right, so this is my Threadweavers series. Now, when I say Threadweavers, I want you to think wizard. That's what they're called in this world. And it's centered around these 2 main characters. 18-year-old Mirla She's just a young woman in a small town, and all she wants is a normal life. But that's not going to happen for her because she's the first Threadweaver to arise in 100 years. Now, 100 years ago, there were lots of these Threadweavers, and they misused their magic and they just about destroyed the world. Essentially, they created this magical nuclear war that did three things. It sucked all the magic out of the lands and trapped it in this tower far to the north. Two, it wiped out all the Threadweavers. That's why she's the first in a century. Three, it killed 80% of everybody else. Boom, right? So, now the story opens 100 years later after this event. The lands are almost dead. The magic has been gone for so long they are dying. Humans are struggling and they hate Threadweavers above everything else, okay? So if the villagers find out that she has magic, they're not gonna ask her if she plans to do something good with it. They're just gonna kill her. Cut to the second main character and the title character of the first volume, 1,400-year-old demigod and legend known as Wildmane. This guy is an immortal hero who's been fighting for us and kicking butt for 14 centuries. He has the crackling energy of a sleeping god in his veins. And when he lets that power off the chain, he can do just about anything. But because of something that happened to him 400 years ago, what he wants to do is die. Now here's what happened. During one of his many epic battles, the love of his life, this immortal woman who could transform into a dragon, got caught up in a spell during the fight that took her and put her into this gemstone. And then the gemstone locked with a riddle that only Wildmane can solve. Now, if he solves it, the spell is simple. The gemstone will open and she'll go free. But it's been 4 centuries. He can't do it. He hates himself. He's languishing in a castle by the sea and he wants to die. Now, cut back to Mirala. So, the lands are dying, and the only way to save them is to return magic. And the only way to do that is to destroy that fountain. And the only person who can do it is a Threadweaver. That means it has to be her. But over the last century, this tower has twisted and cracked, and the most vile, evil magic is leaking out of it. So now it is surrounded by this horde of monsters from beyond belief. No mortal could possibly get through that. But Wildmane could. So, Mirala has to destroy this tower. Wildmane has to get her there. That's Threadweavers.
Tell us why Comic-Cons like WonderCon, San Diego Comic-Con, LA Comic-Con, why are they so important for creatives like you?
You know what? This is like an open market for people who want to express the things that they do. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Like Comic-Cons are this just vast place where anybody who wants to express whatever it is that is inside them can do it. From cosplayers to artists to novelists to, I mean, you name it, it's here. And so that's one of the reasons I love being in this atmosphere, is you get to see all of that. And it's not hampered by any kind of gatekeepers except for the artists themselves, you know, whether they want to put up the money to get a booth or buy a ticket to come and cosplay, whatever it is, they're the ones that limit them, not say some gatekeeper that will let you in or not let you into, you know, a publishing house or a movie deal or whatever. I mean, like, those are all necessary to level up, but here you get this sort of base level where people who, anything they imagine, anything they want to do, they can do at least a little bit of it here, if not a lot of it. So yeah, Comic-Cons, I think, are a very important part of artist culture right now.
And if someone can't attend a Comic-Con, how can people find you on social media?
ToddFahnestock.com. In fact, I think it's right up there on my banner. All my stuff is there. You can get the paperback books, you can get the hardback books, you can get the ebooks, and then we're going to have a lot of audiobooks on that website very soon.
And what's unique if you come here? Will you sign the books? Or?
Absolutely. So not only will I sign them, but they're posters that I have on the table. You can only get them here at a con. And you get those posters, well, you can buy them for $15, or if you buy a set of books, you get the poster for free and I give you a discount. So those are the advantages to buying stuff at a con. The hard copy books, the paperbacks and the hardbacks, you can't get them cheaper anywhere else.
My name is Douglas Sun. I've been writing for role-playing games for about 25 years, and about 7 years ago, I decided to go into business for myself, basically, and I started Ramen Sandwich Press. We sell mostly online. Kickstarter actually accounts for a large amount of our revenue. And what I do, I started with a series that I call Places by the Way, They're modules, location modules, compatible with D&D 5e, and each one is meant to be a little tile that you can drop into your homebrew campaign world, just to give your party a little change of pace. You know, some interesting NPCs that they can encounter, some interesting items, other people's problems that they can get involved in if they want to, or they can move on. You know, it's really up to them. I know also, though, that there's enough narrative content in each one that people have run them successfully as one-shot adventures for their group. So that's Places by the Way. My goal is eventually to create an entire library encompassing a lot of different creature types, a lot of different terrain types, a lot of different situations, so that if you find yourself wanting, say, a desert location or a mountain location or an elven village or whatnot, you can just go to my complete set of adventures, pick the one that you want to run, and just go to town with it. Give your players something that is a little different, a little diversion from the main story. So these are compatible with Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and I also publish the same modules in a version that is compatible with Pathfinder, both 1 and 2. The larger books that you see here, these are books of random wilderness encounters. Book of Hidden Paths is compatible with Pathfinder 2. I use as many of the creatures from the open license bestiary as makes sense. And Book of Chance Meetings is compatible with Dungeons & Dragons 5e. And again, I use as many of the open license monsters as, it just seemed to make sense. So the idea there is that there are 10 chapters in each book, each one covering a different terrain type. And so wherever your party finds itself, whether in the mountains or whether they're in a natural underground cavern complex or in farm country, well, wilderness wouldn't be farm country, but grasslands or forest, you just consult the tables in that chapter, roll according to the instructions, and there'll be some explanation of what the encounter is. My inspiration originally was the great appendix in the AD&D DMG, where Gygax just gave you all these tables, but he didn't give you a lot of explanation of what the encounter was. You could roll up orcs. Well, what are the orcs doing there? Why are they there? What's their motivation? It's like method acting. So I tried to elaborate on that and write about random encounters here. Severed Heads and Broken Blades, sideways here. That's our most recent book. That is just a quick little system for critical hits and fumbles. Again, compatible with both D&D and both editions of Pathfinder. That's our role-playing game stuff so far to date.
Tell us why these are so popular to GMs to use.
Well, I think from what I've gathered, from what people have told me, the modules have been useful as one-shots, just something, and because of the size format, I've had people say, well, it's nice to be able to have something I can fit in my pocket and take to the game, literally fit into my pants pocket. They're meant to be as accommodating to your campaign world as possible. I'm not trying to create your campaign world, I'm just trying to give you something that you can use to make it more interesting, to add value to what you're already doing. The random encounter books, interestingly enough, I've had people tell me in both cases that it's been a great boon to their hex crawl campaigns. So you go into a hex, you don't know what's there, well, you roll it up on the random encounter tables, and that's what you find.
And why do you like going to Comic-Cons? Why is it useful for self-publishers to go and shop and sell your books?
Well, I think it's extremely useful to make a personal connection with people, to connect in physical space. Now, we sell mostly online, almost exclusively online. We don't go through the normal 3-tiered distribution channel. We sell through our own website, we sell through Drive-Thru RPG, and we sell through outlets like eBay, and our t-shirts we sell on Amazon as well. And the problem there is, as a small independent publisher, the problem is getting attention, getting people's attention, because you're already buried under everybody else who's self-publishing through these online outlets. But in a show, people such as yourself will come by and say, oh, well, what's this? And I get a chance to introduce myself and to tell them, well, this is what this is, this is what this is, this is what this is, and I know I have their attention because they've come up and offered it to me.
And you mentioned you use Kickstarter? You use Kickstarter?
Yes.
Tell me why Kickstarter is so useful for self-publishers also.
Well, Kickstarter, a large part of it is that you have kind of a captive audience. You have people who are there looking for something along the lines of what you're doing. So that winnows down the problem of how to get exposure, how to get people to pay attention to you. It's helpful mostly, I have to say, for people who already have some body of work, some credentials they can cite as why you should back their project, or they may be fans of yours already. In my case, I was a freelancer writing for other people's RPGs for 15 years or so before I started Ramen Sandwich Press. I started with Last Unicorn Games' Dune RPG, writing some stuff that never got published for various reasons. There's a long story. I worked for Alderac Entertainment Group on their D20 Topics series of open source supplements, open game license supplements back during D&D 3. I also worked for them for a while as line developer for Legend of the Five Rings RPG. And through that, I was able to build up a body of credentials where people didn't necessarily know my name. In fact, I don't think anybody really recognized my name when I started on Kickstarter, but I could say I worked on this and this and this and this and this, and they would say, oh, hey, yeah, I remember that. So if you were associated with that, I have an idea that you're capable of doing this. And that really helped my establish my credibility and helped me grow a modest fan base. I do have a modest following, I have to say. I'm very pleased to be dealing with all of them, and I'm grateful for all of them. People who've come back and backed every single campaign. I've done almost 20 now. It's been great. It's been great just to have that baseline of support where you know people are going to pay attention to you, and you have people who know who you are, and they'll come back and back your subsequent projects.
And for those who can't attend the Comic-Con, how can they follow you social-wise?
We do have a Twitter feed. Let's see. Actually, probably the best way is to go to our website, which is www.ramensandwich.com. I also have a blog on Substack under my name, Douglas Sun, where I try to post, bits of news and goings-on and some behind-the-scenes glimpses of what we do at Ramen Sandwich Press. And we do have a Facebook page under Ramen Sandwich Press. So those are ways you can keep track of us online.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrea Rose Washington, and I am an indie publisher through Andrea Rose Publishing. And I have 3 books. The first one is Alindo, book 1 and 2. It's about Aubriana. She finds herself on an alien planet in the middle of an intergalactic war, all because the mother who she thought abandoned her was really a general in the alien army. So now she's to save a planet she never called home. In my standalone, we have Adelathea. It's about Sasha and her best friend Cassie. They're on the run from a magical hit squad when a generational secret from her family's past comes back to life. Only problem is she doesn't know the secret, she doesn't know who knows it, so she's not quite sure why the royal family's after her for it. And in my last in the series, I have Amatry's Magic. It's about Olivia London, an unbound magical in DC. When the owner of the shop where she works is murdered by a cult, she's thrown into the underground coven system she wants nothing to do with to stop them before they kill again.
Are the first and the third one series?
Oh, sorry, first in my 3 different series.
So talk about what you hope to do with all 3 series.
So with these series, I want to showcase the women of color in a forefront and the main character of the books. I am looking to broaden people's mind of what they think a sci-fi story should be, or what an urban fantasy story should be, or even what a standalone fantasy story could be. I want to have quick bites into the fantasy world where people can jump in for about 3 to 4 hours, read, come back feeling new and refreshed and get on with their world.
And what's your hopes and dreams for these books?
To be on everyone's shelves. I want everyone to enjoy my work. I would love for everyone to read it, but I'm hoping to get to those people who love fantasy but maybe not have enough time to read as much as they would like to. I want people who think that maybe fantasy isn't for them to fall in love with these stories, and I just want to broaden their minds.
Are you planning to make these also an Audible version so people can listen?
So they are on Audible. These 3 currently are on Audible. I'm working with the voice actress from Amatry's Magic to do the second book for both Amatry's Magic Book 2 and for Lindo Book 2 as well.
Are you hoping maybe eventually down the road that maybe make it into a TV series or anything like that?
So that question is always interesting because when I first wrote the book, I didn't intend for them to ever be seen visually like that. So if it was to happen, there may be some changes. But I wrote them to be little escapes, and I'm not quite sure if I want them to be on the screen just yet.
And why do you like coming to Comic-Cons? What's the benefit of a self-publisher to come to Comic-Cons like WonderCon and then Comic-Con?
You get to meet your fans. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and this is my first one on the West Coast. And you get to meet people face to face and explain to them why your story is amazing. And then as the years go on, as you repeat going to conventions, I've met people who I've only ever seen them at conventions, and they're just like, I love your work, I'm so excited for the next one. I get to be one-on-one with my fans, and I get to say that I have fans because I come to conventions, and it's very refreshing to say that.
And how can people find you if they can't go to the con? How can they follow you?
So all of my stuff is available on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, Kobo, anywhere you can find books online. You can find me or my website if you want them signed at arwbooks.com.
My name is Janet Racciato, and my company is Elfin Forest Writers Guild. And my newest book is Old Souls. You've heard of animals saving people, even wild animals, seemingly doing things they shouldn't be able to. Those are old souls. And their goal is to stop the gremlins who cause freak accidents and interfere with fate. So this story is about the animals who are protecting their humans from the gremlins.
And is that going to be a series or a one-shot?
It'll be a one-stop. And the full book will be out in a month.
Tell us about your other books and series.
All right, I have a middle grade medieval fantasy adventure. Children protecting their village from wyverns with the help of their griffins. There's a bad guy behind the wyverns, and they end up defeating the bad guy at the end.
And is it a limited series? Or?
Yeah, 5 books, and it's done.
And what's your next series?
So I have a superhero genre. Julie is a nurse who finds out she can teleport to any place or person she has a picture of. So she starts off with lost children rescue, that kind of thing. But pretty soon our government and foreign countries are out to get her, like they do. So the first book is her figuring out her powers, figuring out what she wants to do, and staying one step ahead of the bad guys. Book 2 is Mercy's Battle. Time of the Assassin. A foreign country makes somebody with her powers, and she has to defeat the assassin. And the third book is Mercy's Battle. Her children have her powers, but with twists. Mercy's the code name for her daughter.
And your last series?
My last one is a one-off. It's a historical fiction with a twist. John's a scout in 1860 Colorado, and he finds a mysterious woman on a mountain. I don't want to ruin the twist.
That's all right. Tell us why being at cons are so important for self-publishers.
It's so important because we get to meet the people, and we can talk to them and interact and answer questions.
And how can people find you if they're not at a con?
Amazon. All my books are available on Amazon.
Do you also have a website?
I do. elfinforestwritersguild.com.
Okay, my name is Teresa, and I am the owner and chief editor of No Bad Books Press. So we do author services and publish books, edit books. I'm also one of the owners of Semi-Sages of the Pages. We are a YouTube channel for authors that does immersive videos, first page critiques, and gives author advice as well. So on our table, we have a wide variety of books. So we've got Tiny Gateways, that is Portal Fantasies, because I have yet to fall through a portal, and I would very much like to. We've got True Ghost Stories with Lost Aboard from aboard Star of India in the San Diego Harbor. We've got River City Widows set in Sacramento, typical haunted house book. We have a contemporary romance because I can never choose genres. Contemporary romance set in San Diego, lying, baking, and surfing about a couple who meet while pretending to be somebody else. Our bestseller this con, Warehouse Dreams. This is about a teacher trying to keep her supernatural students from blowing up the school. And this year there is a hot new teacher that she just can't stand. We have Alien Abductions with weird fiction with Singing All the Way Up. Our newest one is an anthology, Queens in Wonderland. It's an LGBTQIA anthology with characters from the Wonderland universe. We have Melinda West, Gunslinger. This is Buffy meets Supernatural in the Wild Wild West. We have an horror anthology released, Something Has Gotten Out. And we have everything from slasher to psychological to vampire hummingbirds. We have Death's Legacy. This is Clash of the Titans meets Jessica Jones. I'm gonna keep going here. We have Origins, which is vampires, shapeshifters, and dragons. 4.5 billion people, set in the 1970s, is about a divorced mom whose eldest son is accused of manslaughter and she has got to get him out of jail.
Urban fantasy.
The Mirrors, an anthology with cats.
Science fiction.
Awakening of Marciana is basically like Buffy if Buffy had woken up to her superpowers after she had kids. We have a book about how to help authors balance their day lives with their dream jobs. And we have The Gulch Jumpers, which is a road trip story about a character who's going to the crossroads to give back his singing ability to find out what happened to his lost daughter.
So
Go ahead. And that's No Bad Books Press.
So are you looking for writers who already have something, or are you helping them develop something?
I will help them develop something. So yeah, ideally they already have something, so I do developmental and line-by-line edits. Yeah.
And then how many, aside from, are these all your books, or do you have more than that? So,
We have a couple more, but these are pretty much all of our books.
so how can people find you?
You can find us at www.nobadbookspress.com.
And why are Comic-Con so important for publishing companies?
Oh my gosh, this is the way that we get in front of people and we talk to people and we share why we love what we write. So I love doing conventions. I've been doing conventions for years. I would do a convention every single weekend if I could.
My name is Julian David Stone. I am the author of It's Alive, which is a novel that tells the story of the days leading up to the beginning of production on the 1931 classic Frankenstein. What people don't know is that at the time that Frankenstein was made, which really launched horror as a genre, Universal Studios was being run by a 21-year-old named Carl Laemmle Jr., or Junior Laemmle as he was known throughout his life. He was the son of the founder of Universal Studios, and he was 21 years old when he was put in charge of the studio, and Junior had very different ideas of what he wanted Universal Studios to make. And among those were the classic horror films. And he started out with Dracula, and everybody thought it would be a flop. It turned out to be a big hit, so he decided to double down, and he next made Frankenstein. And same reaction, people thought he was crazy to make this film, but he decided to proceed with it. And then before production began, he had to decide who was going to star in this movie. He had made a star out of Bela Lugosi, so that seemed like the logical extension to make him a star in Frankenstein, and that was the original intent. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, and leading up to the beginning of production, it went back and forth between whether it would be Bela Lugosi or Boris Karloff starring in Frankenstein. Ultimately, Boris Karloff got the role, and the rest is history. And if you want to find out how all of it came to be, I recommend you check out my novel, It's Alive.
And tell us about the Justice Girl novel.
Justice Girl is a novel I wrote before It's Alive, and it tells the story of the early days of television. What people don't realize is that television exploded in 1946 at the end of World War II. But for the first 10 or 15 years that television existed, there was no videotape, meaning everything you were watching on your screen was happening at that very moment somewhere, most likely in New York on a soundstage, and it led to some incredible craziness that happened because you had a live broadcast. But what was also amazing about this era was that despite the fact that it was all live, the makers of television then were not refused to give in to what could have been the limitations, and they staged incredibly complicated live productions, many of which went on to be movies, but first started as live TV productions. The famous film Marty was originally a live TV production, 12 Angry Men, and all sorts of big, complicated dramas and comedies. And Justice Girl is about a writer during this period of time who accidentally creates this character named Justice Girl, and it turns out to be a sensation, and it's all the back and forth that he goes through, his fights with the network, with censorship, with wanting to deal with different types of material and subject matter than the networks wanted to have on the air. A lot of the battles that people still fight today, but they really had to fight it then because there were no other outlets. You couldn't just do your own internet show. You had to deal with television or bust. So that's what Justice Girl is about.
For both books, what will surprise people about it, and what do you want people to get out of it?
I think people will be surprised by how entertaining they are. I try to write everything to make it fun and entertaining and make you want to read the next page. That's a compliment I've always gotten about my work, that people couldn't put it down, and that's something that I take pride in, because I think when you do it right, and I hope I'm doing it right, you can't wait to keep reading the story. I think people will be surprised to learn in It's Alive how the film business, even though it's 100 and 125 years later, everything that we sort of think about it, the cliches and everything, all started right in the beginning. And with Justice Girl, I don't think people are aware of how crazy it was in these early days of television, when they were essentially creating this art form of live television that only lasted for about 10 or 15 years, and just how amazing it was that they pulled off these incredible productions. And I think people would find that fascinating, that they weren't daunted by, the fact that it was live. They would have walls flying out and, off camera, and actors running in, just absolute chaos. And that's how every show was done back then.
And why do you like going to cons? Why are cons beneficial for selling your books?
Well, cons are great because you get to meet lots of people, new people, introduce them to their work. My personal favorite thing is the number of people I've met who have read my work, and it's the first time that I've met them, and it's been really exciting having people come up to me and say, "Oh my God, I read your book, I loved it," or "I've heard about this before, I've always wanted to get it." That's been the most satisfying, is getting a chance to meet people. And I also very much enjoy turning new people onto my work.
And if people can't go to the con, how can they find your website?
Sure. I can be found at juliandavidstone.com. That's where you can read about all my different works. Justice Girl, It's Alive, plus I have a book of rock and roll photos that I took in the 1980s called No Cameras Allowed. It's all there on juliandavidstone.com.
My name is Lauren Jankowski. I'm an indie author, but I do publish with Crimson Fox Publishing. My series is The Shapeshifter Chronicles. It's about a woman named Isis who stumbles on an ancient mystery when she photographs a murder scene, and the next day all evidence of the murder has vanished, including the body from her pictures. And Isis, being who she is, she can't let it go. So she starts investigating, and in the course of her investigation, she finds out she's not human like she always assumed. She is part shapeshifter, part guardian. Guardians are like various gods from various mythologies, because I'm a myth nerd. And the series is her and 3 other women kicking butt, taking names, trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, why it's happening, how they can stop it, that sort of thing.
And what's your hope for the series? Is it going to be like, how many books are you planning to come out?
So for this current plot line that I'm working on, I'm hoping to have at least 8 books. However, I'm planning to always write in the universe, so I'm planning for there to be like spin-off series, other stories that take place in the universe, following like different characters, that kind of thing.
And your slogan is badass women against the forces of darkness. Why is that important to have really strong women figures in the books?
Because I never really saw that growing up. I'm a queer woman, and I never saw women like me. I never saw women from non-traditional families, women with women on the ACE spectrum, so I decided, well, I'll just write it myself, because I think that everybody deserves to see themselves in characters.
Why are Comic-Cons like WonderCon, Comic-Con, and other ones important for self-publishers?
Because it's one of the few opportunities we have to speak to readers, and people are not as likely to take a chance on a book they've never heard of if they don't speak to the author. Like, I don't have Neil Gaiman's following, I don't have Stephen King's following. I'm a small, struggling writer, so this is the way that I can connect with readers and get my books and my story out there.
What would surprise people about your book that they wouldn't expect?
That's a good question. That there are no straight characters in my books. There was supposed to be one token straight, and he turned out to be demisexual, and I was like, damn.
Why do you love writing, and why do you love writing this series?
I love writing because it's a way for me to. I've always been very imaginative, and I jokingly, my dark sense of humor, I'm like, I created the world that I want to live in because I can't stand this one. So it gives me a chance to escape reality for a bit, while also kind of strangely commenting on it a bit too. I'm never like hitting readers over the head. I'm not a political writer by any stretch of the imagination. No, thank you. But like, I do like commenting on certain things. I do like, I like commenting on certain things, and I also like the escapism. So yeah, I kind of like, I guess, having my cake and eating it too.
And for those that can't go to the con, how can they find you? What's your website and all?
My website is my name, LaurenJankowski.com. That's where you can find my Square store, or they can look up Crimson Fox Publishing. I believe you still have an online store, so you can get my books through there too.
Hi, I'm Matt. I write as MD Presley, and I try to do all things world building, fantasy world building in particular. Problem with world building is that everyone has their own way to do it, and there are a lot of theories and techniques and stuff, but they are all scattered throughout the realms, and I tried to bring them all together and wrote a textbook on world building, and where everything from the history, starting with Tolkien, who was theorizing about world building before he even wrote The Hobbit, before he did any of that. He was mad at an anthropologist and wanted to explain some things, and those are some of the cornerstones that we use, primary, secondary worlds. He coined those terms in 1920, and that's just kind of cool. And so brought all of that together and try to do a data-driven. It's, I look at things like, if I can find it, how audiences interact with maps. Do you want a map at the beginning? What size map do you want? And oddly enough, it's by a genre. Like epic fantasy, yeah, you better have a map. Urban fantasy, nah, I don't really need a map. And if I do, I want it to be of the city, and I don't need any more. So I try to spend a lot of time looking on that, for audiences, how they interact with fantasy. So if you want to know how worlds work, kind of thing, I really appreciate it. And for authors as well, I have a workbook with 750 questions based on what you need as an author for it. And yeah, that's it. World building in a nutshell.
Tell me how this will be helpful to a GM working in Dungeons & Dragons or Daggerheart. How would that help?
Well, for one of the first things you look at is inside-out world building, which is how people want to interact, how audiences interact, and that's what gaming is interactive storytelling with world building. And so you don't start with the gods. You start with what are we doing for this session, and then the longer they play the session, the more they're going to want to know about the world. And that's one of the first things that we took that directly from the role-playing community, and that's one of the things in there. And it will just help to build a more vibrant, sensical world. I remember, and I'm blanking on his name, Erickson, I think, from Malazan, talking about how they got mad at one of the early D&D games. They're like, no, there's no way that there would be an elf community inside a dwarven land. That just doesn't make sense. And that's the kind of thing we were dealing with, making it feel more authentic for the gamers.
And also just talk about writers who would like the world build, how the world building book will help writers develop their worlds.
Well, my partner has said it's a textbook that she wished she had read a long time ago before she started. It is I use a tools, not rules approach. So I try to give you every tool in the toolbox so that you know what you need, when you need it, and it is there and available for you when you can say, oh no, I've written myself into a corner. How does so-and-so deal with that? How did I, so everything from starting your world as a top-down designer or bottom-up, who's already written something, and all the way to the end of, I made a mistake, how do I fix it?
Why are Comic-Con so important for publishers like you?
Because it puts you directly in front of the people who are consuming your stuff, and you get to interact and hear from them and what they want, as well as what you want to give to them.
And if someone can't attend a con, how can they find you on your website?
mdpresley.com. I actually got my writing name as as my website, and Forging Fantasy Realms is my YouTube channel where I weekly break down a new concept and then demonstrate it.
Hi, I'm Tim Zajac. I'm the creator of Poe Noir. I write and self-publish. Graham Zisk is our illustrious artist. And what Poe Noir is film noir style adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe's stories and poems. We take the Poe and we set it in a more cinematic universe. We set it in different times and places and still stay true to the heart of Poe and his oeuvre. I first cooked up this idea sitting in film class. I was studying film noir and kind of the roots and history of that genre, or maybe more accurately cinematic phenomenon, and that stems to a literary tradition in American literature that goes all the way back to Poe. It actually started with Poe. He's the father of detective fiction, and learning those roots kind of inspired me to bring the two together. And a lot of Poe's works really do translate into that kind of gritty, dark, mid-20th century world.
Tell us when the reader first meets them, and what's the introduction? For the first comic book?
Well, we have what I call our anthology phase, and each issue has 2 of Poe's tales. They're standalone, so you're going to get most issues have one tale from Poe that everybody knows, paired with one that maybe not so many people know. So we're kind of introducing people to some of his lesser known works as well. And the second phase of Poe Noir is called the Dupine Files, and that is our ongoing series. And that is where we are adapting his detective stories. Being the father of detective fiction, Edgar Allan Poe created this character called Inspector Dupin, set in Paris. And we've moved him up a century and put him in New Orleans during the Great Depression. We call him A.A. Dupine, hard-boiled private eye. And we have 3 of Poe's tales to adapt and follow that character.
And what's your goals? How many arcs? How many books are you hoping to come out with?
Well, it's more a matter of following through with adapting Poe's 3 detective tales now. So this next phase, the Dupine Files, that follows Dupine through the mystery of Marie Roget and the Purloined Letter, and we're beginning with Murders in the Rue Morgue, which is probably his best known detective story.
And what's your hope for this comic book, the series, and your writing?
I would love to connect with an indie publisher and just get it into the hands of more and more readers. I love Poe, I love noir, I love storytelling, and I would love to share it with more and more people, both here locally in Southern California and throughout the rest of the country, and hey, even the world.
Tell us how people can find you both at cons and also online.
You can find our issues and buy them in print at indieplanet.com.
Anything else about the comic book you want to mention? About your artists and...
Oh, yeah. Check out Graham Zisk on Instagram. He's got a portfolio on Behance. He's amazing, and you should check out his work and hype him up because he's great, and he's great to work with.
Also, why are cons like WonderCon, Comic-Con, and other cons important to a self-publisher like yourself?
Well, for me, this is the #1 place where I interact with the most people. This is basically where I build a fan base, and I meet so many people that love comics. I meet so many people that love Poe, that love movies, that love film noir, and bringing all these different folks together that share these same passions, that's the way to connect with them and share our stories.
Okay, I'm Cynthia Diamond. I'm an author of paranormal and monster romance. This is my latest trilogy, Magical Husbandry. And the first book is out right now. It's a little more intimate in scope. If you like monster romance, this is definitely the book to go for you. My heroine's a little older. She deals with anxiety. She has a monster squatting in her basement who is a satyr, and she has to deal with that. It's an enemies to lovers story. Second book is about her twin brother, an irrational lesson on witch boy wooing, which is on pre-order right now, coming out. And that is just continuation of the story with her twin brother and the other satyr that's been squatting in the basement of their house. This is my series Weird Love. This is a series of standalones that have a little bit of an urban fantasy twist. All the stories are standalones, but they're all interconnected through the characters and through the world. So it's essentially about these fantasy characters that find each other in this world that is invisible to our own. And that's this. We got dragons, we've got fallen angels, we've got werewolves, we've got fae, we've got trolls, we got mages, we got everything. So that's what this one's all about.
And both series, are you going to continue on the books?
Yes, this is an ongoing series. Right now I'm just taking a quick break from it to work on this. This is a trilogy, so there's only one more book that's coming out. Might be a couple short stories coming out for it, but this will just end after 3. This is an ongoing series that I just love to dabble in. Yeah.
And how did you come up with both these ideas? Why did you have to write to tell the story?
Well, I'm an avid romance reader, and I was finding that I wanted a specific thing that I wasn't finding in some of the books I was reading at the time, so I decided to write my own. I'm also an avid tabletop RPGer, and I love to create characters. That's my favorite part of the whole process. So I would come up with these characters, but I wanted them to go in a different scope than what was going on in the game. And that's why I started writing. It's just, when you have a bunch of characters in your head that just want to come out, and you got to give them that space. So that's how I started writing. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
And as a publisher, writer, why are Comic-Cons so important for you?
It's an audience that otherwise you can't really reach, especially if you're an indie author. It's a little hard to get your books out there. You get blocked by a lot of things. You're not mainstream. You don't have a big publisher kind of giving you advances, giving you publicity. And so coming to these types of cons, you can kind of find your audience. I've actually found a lot of readers here at WonderCon specifically who are looking for what I write, and they otherwise wouldn't have found me unless I was standing right here being a nerd with everyone else.
And why is RPG games so fun to play with, but helpful as a writer?
I was a gamer before I was a writer. I liked it because I loved creating characters, and it actually gave me a time to kind of create these characters and then just put them in different scenarios and put them in different things. And I felt that it helped me develop how to make well-rounded characters, depending on situations that I personally wouldn't put them in, but the GM would put them in. So then I was like, all right, well, what would this character do in this situation? And then it would be another path and story arc to go down. And so I found it in character creation really invaluable to kind of just as a mind exercise, essentially.
And for those who can't go to a Comic-Con, how can they find you? What's your website? My
website is CynthiaDiamondAuthor.com. Pretty easy. I'm on Instagram as Cynth Diamond. I'm on Facebook as Cynthia Diamond Author. I'm kind of on TikTok as Cynth Diamond, CINS Diamond, like the stone. So yeah, I'm very active on Instagram, so definitely hunt me down there.
My name is Megan Haskell. My press is Trabuco Ridge Press, and I have 2 series. The Signari Chronicles, which are a human raised by elves in the High Court of Fairy, and she is framed for treason and has to flee behind enemy lines to prove her innocence before the High Elf King takes her head. And her only allies on her journey are the fierce carnivorous pixies who travel by her side. So that's the first series. That was my debut novel, and it was actually a Reader's Favorite Bronze Award winner, which was amazing and such an honor. And there are 5 books in that series, so, which is complete for now. And then my latest series that's currently in progress is the Rise of Lilith series, which features a Laguna Beach bartender who can see the demon on your shoulder, and she knows exactly what you desire, and she's going to serve it to you in a cocktail. But when her brother goes missing, in this freak ocean storm, she has to travel to the underwater underworld of Aegir's Hall to rescue him.
And are both series continuing series? I know you said you paused with this one, but both you're planning to write more books?
Yes, yeah. So The Rise of Lilith is currently in progress. I'm currently writing book 3 in that series, and I expect that one will probably end up at around 6 books in the series. The Shiniari Chronicles is paused for now, but as I like to say, I always reserve the right to have more ideas and continue it later.
Why do you have such a passion for writing, and why do you love writing these books?
So for me, reading was always an escape. When I was a kid, I loved to read, and I loved fantasy in particular because it gave me that opportunity to explore new worlds and new creatures and different things that, obviously don't exist on Earth today. And I wanted to be able to provide that same experience for my own readers. So writing is my creative outlet. It's the way that I express myself and that I get my emotions out on that page, but it's also the way that I can connect with other people and readers and give them that same escape experience that I always had growing up. That kind of comfort of, being in a different world while still safe at home.
What would surprise the readers about both your series?
They are both portal fantasy, so even though they're very different as far as their style, the Shiniari Chronicles is full secondary world, it's the elven realms, and I go into the demon realm. It's loosely based on Norse mythology. The Rise of Lilith is contemporary, so she is a Laguna Beach here locally in Southern California bartender, fake bar, but so contemporary, so more urban in that way, but they're both exploring alternative worlds and experiences. So they're the portal fantasy in that the protagonists travel between worlds to uncover their journey.
What do you hope the readers get from your books?
Honestly, I think it's that sense of escape and entertainment. I want them to feel immersed in the world and immersed in the story and writing right alongside those characters. And so if I can achieve that, if I can give them that momentary just not being in the present day reality, then I've done my job.
And why are Comic-Cons so important to self-publishers like yourself?
Because we get to connect with readers. I think that's the biggest thing. I find that when I'm at events like this, I'm able to understand what those readers are looking for more so that I make sure that my books are providing that experience that they want, and also making sure that I know how to talk about the books, and I know how to reach people and understand where they're coming from, their perspectives, talk to fans. I see a lot of the same people coming back year after year after year. So being able to be here for them and to give them that experience is it's icing on the cake of this job.
And for those who can't go to con, what's your website and how can they find you?
So I'm at meganhaskell.com. It's pretty easy. And I do sell all my books direct on my website. So you can get signed paperbacks as well as ebooks or audiobooks. And then I also have, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Megan Haskell Author. And then I'm also the co-host of the Author Wheel podcast. So if you're interested in writing, our goal is to help you keep your stories rolling.
Tell us a little about the podcast.
Sure. So the podcast is I co-host with my nonfiction writing partner, Greta Boris. And we've been teaching writers about writing, the craft of writing as well as the publishing journey for about 8 years now, I think, or 7 years. And so we have a few nonfiction titles out under our co-written. But the podcast is our way of giving back to the writer community. So we interview other authors and author service professionals. We've had people like Joanna Penn on the show, Damon Courtney from BookFunnel. So if you're an indie author, you might know BookFunnel. He was on the show. We've had Jonathan Yanez, who's another author that's here at WonderCon. We've had a bunch of people, and we talk about what are the roadblocks that they've had in their careers, how did they overcome that, and then what tips or tools do they offer to help other authors overcome those same roadblocks. So the idea is there's no right way to write or to publish or to promote your books. It's just what works for you, and we're going to help you keep your stories rolling.
Perfect. Did you kickstart any of these? Or?
So I did kickstart this one, Aether Cross. So it's the second book in the Rise of Lilith series. And the cool thing about this was my exploration into Kickstarter. But I was able to hire an artist to do special chapter headers because I got reader engagement through Kickstarter. So here's some of the different illustrations you can see. And that was a fabulous experience. So I'm actually about to launch my next Kickstarter, which is going to be a special edition hardcover with foil of The Last Descendant, of new full-color dust jacket, black laminate case with the foil inlay, sprayed edges. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to get it out there. So that'll be coming soon. I actually have the pre-launch page up already, so if you were to go to Kickstarter and search for The Last Descendant, it should pop right up for you.
Because you did one already, why is Kickstarter such a friendly community, and why do you like now using Kickstarter?
Because it lets us reach those fans who truly love books and reading and the experience of having beautiful collector's editions and supporting the indie author community. I think it's a very unique ecosystem in that you get these people who truly fundamentally love what we do and are willing to support us and help us achieve the most beautiful possible books, highest quality we can possibly bring out into the world. And it gives, again, that little bit more experience for readers. You can get extra bonuses. You can get an inside peek. One of my highest tiers is I offer a one-on-one Zoom conversation for an hour with a reader. So if you have questions about writing or publishing or the books or anything, like, I can meet with you on Zoom and do that. Where in the more traditional method of publishing, it's behind a wall, right? You've got the publishers, you're either going through Amazon, or if you have a traditional deal, you're going through the publishers. Maybe you get to do some signings, and that's pretty cool, but you don't get to have that same engagement and experience with the readers who I believe are sharing in the creation of that book. Because I write it, but when you're reading it, you're changing the perception of those words on the page. You're importing your own perspective on that. And so it's a collaboration rather than a pure single person creation.
And once again, give us your website one more time.
MeganHaskell.com.
So why do you like being a writer, and tell me when you first thought of The Dead Awakenings, your first book?
So I decided to become an author because I used to do theater and musical theater, and after I started having kids, I realized it was taking way too much time away from my kids. So I said, okay, well, then I'll just make up characters instead of play characters. So I was sitting, actually, for Dead Awakenings, I was sitting at a homeschool event. We were in Knitting Circle with a bunch of ladies, and one of them was an author, and she said she'd just been to a writer's conference and publishers were looking for a zombie romance. And I said, that's terrible. Who would ever think of a zombie romance? But it stuck with me, and it was one of those things where I could not get it out of my head. And so I was talking to my husband. He's like, well, if you were going to write it, what would you do? And I said, well, I'd take out everything you know about zombies, and I'd start from there. And so that's kind of how it started. My deaders, they're called deaders. They're kind of a mix between a vampire and a zombie, and some of them have superpowers, and so it was a lot of fun. And then once I started writing that, it was 150,000 words 1 month. The next month I wrote a different book that was vampires. That was 150,000 words. And then the next month I wrote a third one, and I said, I'm done. And that lasted about 30 days.
So tell us about the different series that you have and why people should read them.
So Dead Awakenings is a standalone right now. I have 2 more books in that series, but I haven't really decided where to go with them yet. I have Reign of the Vampires. That one's a lot of fun because it's vampires rule this world dystopian, but it's told from the vampires' point of view as opposed to the humans' point of view. I've always loved fairy tales, so my Fairy L series is fantasy, romances, fairy tale retellings, all it's set in the same world where, the characters move from book to book. And then my Otherworlder series came about because everything I was writing was so serious. I just wanted to write something goofy for me, so I thought of this fae who has absolutely no magical powers, and she becomes a PI for Otherworlders here, and she starts having these weird cases and weird things happen to her, and it just became a lot of fun. And I wrote it for me and thought, if nobody likes these books, I really don't care, because they're hysterical, and I think they're hysterical, and they caught on and people thought they were funny. So
what would surprise a reader about your different series that they wouldn't expect in your books?
I write a lot of plot. So I'm known for romance, but I am very plot heavy. So mine aren't just simply, you know, guy meets girl, they have trouble, they fall in love. Like, I love fantasy. I love fight scenes. There are a lot more fight scenes and love scenes in my books because I absolutely love fight scenes. Because I come from a D&D background, being a dungeon master and things like that, my fantasy series especially, the fight scenes are very detailed. I use a lot of technical language, just because that's the kind of stuff. I mean, like, I'd rather watch an action movie than a love story movie, which is kind of weird, but it's just how I am. I love a lot of action.
So coming from D&D, how did D&D and playing games help you create all the worlds you've made?
Oh my gosh, I have a blog post that I wrote years ago, 10 things D&D taught me about being a writer. You know, playing D&D it really teaches you how to make a character, how to embody a character, and make a character come to life, which is a really great thing that I loved. Coming from that D&D and theater background, you want these characters to be people. You want them to be alive, not these, you know, cardboard cutouts. Another thing D&D taught me, and gaming, and because I play a lot of RPGs, is the mechanics of fighting. You know, you're not going to put a girl in chainmail and throw her into battle because she's not going to last very long. You know, things like, how much does a sword really weigh? What kind of sword, you know, can you use in a small hallway? Throw a fireball from the back of the group. Who in your group are you going to hit? Just interesting things like that really make it a lot more realistic in that aspect. Instead of, I don't want my readers to read my books and be like, yeah, that's not technically possible. So D&D really helped me learn how to do all that stuff.
Would you ever offer a game that you can play D&D with your characters?
Yes, actually my daughter and I are working on one right now for Alice in Wonderland, and my Fairy Elf series, we are looking at making into, because it is an entire world, immersive world of its own, with its own creatures and stuff like that, and it has 2 different magic systems in it. We're actually looking at turning that into a D&D module and a playthrough for people. The other one, Dead Awakenings, I know my husband wants to turn that one into a game. We're turning that one into a graphic novel. That one would be a little bit more difficult, I think, just based on the story elements, but Fairy Elf is such a humongous world that one would be an easy one to do and a lot of fun.
Now, I understand one of your books, I think, is a shared universe of another author. Talk about that.
So, the shared world is speed dating with the denizens of the underworld, and there's a lot of us that are in it. I think there's about 20 of us authors that are in it, and it's all based on characters that live in the underworld. I decided to take the Norse gods, so I have Thor, Fenrir, and Loki are the 3 that are out right now. Tyr, Odin are coming out later. My friend Angel Payne, who's also here, her first one just came out in that series. It's Hercules. We have all kinds of Greek gods, Norse gods, African gods, you know, Lucifer, demons, just anything that would be in the underworld is in that series, and they're a lot of fun too.
Now, I understand you also have an Emmy Award movie that you came out, or
we did.
Talk about that. How did that happen?
So, Rekindling Christmas is a book that I wrote. It's, if you think of Hallmark, but it has like actual conflict in it. That's one of the books that I wrote, and we had it made into a movie, and it got nominated for an Emmy, which was really cool.
Why are Comic-Cons so important for publishers like you?
Comic-Cons are important, I think, because when I go to romance cons, which I love, it's all romance authors. But since what I write is not strictly just romance, I write a lot of stuff. I have gothic horror, steampunk, and sci-fi. It really helps to open it up to the audience who loves the kind of things I do, and it's fun because there's little, you know, Easter eggs in my books for different things, whether it be Star Wars or, you know, a nod to something else that I really love. And so finding all these other fandoms that love that kind of stuff, it's a lot of fun finding new readers who see those Easter eggs and know what they actually mean. And I think just interacting with people, because, you know, I am a romance writer, I am a writer, but I also am a huge Star Wars fan, you know, I'm a huge anime fan, and I love all these different things. So being able to meet people who like more than just that, they like all the things that I like, is a lot of fun.
And if someone can't make it to the Comic-Con, how can they find you? What's your website?
My website is RebeccaGuinier.com, but I'm on all social media as Vampware Zombie, Vampires, Werewolves, and Zombies, on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and just everywhere.
Do you do a Kickstarter?
I have not yet. We're actually working on one right now. My book Dead Awakenings, we're looking at doing one for that. And also I'm looking at doing some special editions for the fairy tale books that are hardcover, and we'll have gilded edges and a lot of illustrations in them and things like that. And if we end up doing a D&D, then we'll put that on Kickstarter. I love Kickstarter. I've spent way too much money on Kickstarter.
Well, because there's such a passion for writing, what would you tell someone else who wants to write their own book, what not to hold back and why to write it?
If that's what you want to do, that's what you should do. Like, when I wrote my first book, Dead Awakenings, I had gone to college for musical theater. I hadn't gone for writing. So I didn't really know what I was doing. And I just started. And I just wrote a pen on paper, which I then had to transcribe into a computer at a later date. But I just started writing. And if you have a story in you, write the story. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Write it for yourself. Write what you love. Write something that you find entertaining, and go from there. And it doesn't matter if your grammar's wrong. It doesn't matter, you know, if your punctuation isn't right. If you don't know that stuff, open a book. That's what I had to do. I literally, when I first started, I was like, how is dialogue structured? I can't even remember. It's been a while since I've been in high school. And I opened up a book and was like, oh, that's how you do it. And you find the easy way to do it. And don't even worry about that stuff. Just let your creative flow. That's the biggest thing, I think, is a lot of writers will stop and be like, well, I'm not good enough. I don't know how to write yet. I don't know the technical things. That stuff doesn't matter in the beginning. That's all stuff you deal with later. You get your story out. You get it out of you, and then you go from there, and all that other stuff falls into place. You can learn all that other stuff, but you have to let your creative flow.
And once again, what's your website?
RebeccaGuinier.com.
First, how did you get into writing novels?
Oh, I've been a reader for as long as I can remember. And then in about my mid-20s to early 30s, I read my first romance novel, and that was it. I was done. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do.
So tell me about your current series that you're promoting at Comic-Con.
Well, this is my most recent, is Hercules. It's exactly about the guy that you think it's about, and it's in a shared world called the Speed Dating with the Denizens of the Underworld, and all the books take place in and around a nightclub in downtown LA, that is where humans and demons meet to find romance.
And will you be adding to that series?
Yes, I will be. I am writing Hercules' big brother Apollo after this.
And tell us about the other books that you have on the table in the series.
So first up is my Bolt saga, 6 books, and it is a sexy superhero. He was born out of my frustration that we never got to see Tony and Pepper create their baby. So I was bummed about that. So Bolt was born. Super sexy, super spicy, super fun. And then I also have the Cimarron Royals, modern royalty based on a fictional island in the middle of the Mediterranean. So that's kind of fun. And then my 2 misadventures books are Time Traveler and Duke. They are both brothers who traveled forward in time to escape the French Revolution. And then probably my most well-known series is Blood of Zeus, which I wrote in collaboration with Meredith Wild. It's about a demigod professor who falls in love with his half-demon student. So there you go.
Tell us something that would surprise the reader about all your book series that they want to expect from your book series.
I think I have like a lot of interesting plot twists in the books. And then, of course, a lot of people read me because I write pretty emotional, pretty angsty. So if you're, a fan of angsty romance, K-drama style emotions, you'll like my books.
And can you talk about maybe future books that are coming out?
Yes, I am working. Believe it or not, I'm getting back to my contemporary romance roots and writing hopefully what's going to be a series that's called You Are My Forever, or My Forever Is You. Not sure yet which way we're going to go with the title. And doing that, and then of course continuing with the speed dating books. So lots of different things coming up.
Tell us why Comic-Cons like WonderCon, Comic-Con are important to publishers or writers like you.
They're important because they put you in touch with readers that you would normally not get to meet in any other environment or any other venue. Besides that, they're fun. They're a lot of fun, but Comic-Cons and WonderCons and things like this they're my people. They're people who love to dream and love to dream in color and love to be unique. And I think that's where a lot of my books are. They're very unique concepts. A lot of people are like, "You're writing a spicy superhero?" I said, "Yeah, I'm writing a spicy superhero." And the people that come to these kinds of cons are like, "Cool, a spicy superhero." So it's fun.
And if people can't go to the Comic-Con, how can they find you? What's your website?
I am www.angelpain.com, and links to all my books are on there. I am also on every single social site there is. So you can find me on, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Book Talk, Facebook. So I love to interact with fans. So please look me up.
Did you Kickstarter any of these, or?
I'm sorry?
Did you Kickstarter?
Not a Kickstarter, no. I started out independently and then got picked up by a publishing house for several years. That's the Blood of Zeus books, and several others like it were published by a publishing house. And now I'm dipping my toe back into the independent pool. So I'm what's called a hybrid writer. So I write for publishing, professional publishing houses, but I also publish my own things independently.
And once again, give me your website.
Yes, it's www.angelpain.com, and that's ANGELPAYNE.
My name is Nick Tierce. This is the Granville House Productions booth. We've got 3 products on offer today, different projects at different states of readiness. The one that's already out in the world is Hollow Medium. It's a recovered audio ghost story, sort of if you imagine movies having found footage. This is the audio equivalent, recovered audio. The idea is someone found a mysterious trunk filled with hundreds of old wax cylinders that had been used by a bartender during the Prohibition era. So she's in a speakeasy, she starts to experience all of these strange paranormal happenings, and she records them the only way she knows how, onto wax cylinders. So this show is completely from her perspective, and you can hear some of the paranormal things going on. And with each episode, on the website, we've got some puzzles that were tied into artifacts that were with the cylinders in the box. So you can get the complete story by listening to the show, but if you want to know more, there's all these artifacts that you can unlock more layers of the story. A little thing to peel back if you really enjoy what you hear. Coming up, we're announcing 2 new projects. The first is the Swashbuckle Noir Adventure magazine, for which we're giving out tiny pocket swords. You never know when adventure could lie around every corner. Best to have a pocket sword on you at all times. The belle of the ball, though, is really Linked. It is a novel that is a prequel to The Christmas Carol, and this project has a very interesting history. It was originally written as a screenplay. That screenplay was optioned by Disney, and they had an A-list director attached. The guy who wrote all the music for Wicked was going to write music for it. But through some crazy shenanigans, all the rights reverted back to the author, and so now, rather than making it as a movie, it is going to be published as a novel. And that novel tells the story that happens right before The Christmas Carol. Basically, if you imagine Scrooge, there were a lot of curmudgeons in his time. Why was Scrooge given a chance at redemption when no one else was? And the answer is his dead partner, Jacob Marley, made a sacrifice in the afterlife that gave Scrooge that chance. And so that book will tell that story. And it's a very exciting one. We've been working on it a really long time and excited to get that out this Christmas.
And what would people be surprised about all three projects that are in these projects that they wouldn't expect?
Well, we always try and add an extra little layer to peel back, whether that's through puzzles or cryptograms or even just ways that it connects to other media. The idea of Granville House Production was always going to be about stories that were too big for one platform. So cross-platform stories, multi-transmedia stories that go from one media to another but speak with one voice. And so each one of these projects is the beginning of hopefully a much larger narrative project. That's the idea anyway. So hopefully everyone enjoys what we've got and we will be allowed to continue each one of these stories into the future.
Do you want to talk about your full team, how they've brought everything together?
I would be happy to. Right now, the team is myself, Nick Tierce, and my wife. I'll bring her in right now. She is the author of Linked, Linnea Bond. She has written a magnificent story and was also the showrunner on Hollow Medium. So there were other writers brought in to build out all the different episodes of Hollow Medium, including myself. But she was the voice that kind of unified all that and made sure that each episode locked in and told one larger story.
And why are Comic-Con so important for publishers and creatives like yourself?
Comic-Con is a wonderful thing. Do you want to talk about Comic-Con and what it offers to the company?
Yeah, I think it's great to meet people face to face, get to talk about our projects, and get real time feedback, right? In a way that you can't always do online, interacting with people. So it's wonderful to hear what people are excited about, maybe what they're not excited about, and it always defies our expectations. So that's always great feedback to get.
Expectations really is what it gets down to, both in terms of us being able to set people's expectations for what these things are going to be, but also for them to tell us what their expectations are, even if you just hear a title. What do you expect from that title? We have our assumptions on that, but when you're pitching it to everybody who's walking the convention floor, they're going to let you know what they expect from a title like the Swashbuckle Noir Adventure Magazine, and it's up to us to make sure that we deliver that when it finally is released.
Now, the Swashbuckler, will that be a series or just a one-shot?
The magazine will be a one-shot. So the Swashbuckle Noir Adventure Magazine will be a single kind of anthology piece that launches what we hope is a larger genre of storytelling. And so those additional installments will come in different forms. So the first piece will be this adventure magazine, which will have both prose, comic books, and comic strips within it. And then also a follow-up to that would not necessarily be another anthology, but would be a fleshed out version of one of the pieces within that. So this is the seed from which we hope to grow a mighty tree. So the next installment would likely be a full-blown graphic novel on its own.
And the first project, that is a series that we continue to work on, or is it?
The first season is completed for Hollow Medium. The audio is listenable anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search Hollow Medium. There are 5 seasons worth of story that we have outlined because we wanted to be prepared if in success people want more stories. We haven't announced any future seasons on that yet, but the conditions could come into being that would allow 2, 3, 4, and 5 to complete the Hollow Medium story. That being said, season 1 tells a complete story with a beginning, middle, and end. You're not going to be left with a cliffhanger or anything like that, but the fans who have already listened to it and uncovered some of the puzzle mysteries have already gotten a taste of where the story would go if it was to continue, which we hope it will.
And then the third one, the Dickens retelling or telling pre, is it just going to be a novel, or could it be a play in the future, or?
That's a you question.
It's a great question. I think for right now, I can firmly say it's going to be a novel. We are going to release an audiobook version of it as well, but there are definitely plans to put it on different platforms and things like that and explore the world in different ways. So for right now, it will just be a book.
And are there any other projects you can hint at that your company's coming out?
No, not yet. These 3, one that exists, 2 that don't exist. That book is coming this Christmas. We have not announced a date for the magazine yet, so that one's a little further out. But we like to offer people who are physically here at WonderCon a ground floor sort of got here first, knowing what's coming, and inviting people into the process as these develop. So, yeah, a title announcement, especially if it comes with a little tiny sword to put in your pocket, not a bad way to receive that initial feedback on the idea and confirm the suspicion that, yeah, we're barking up the right tree.
And tell people why people should come to Comic-Con to meet organizations like yours.
Comic-Con and WonderCon and all of these local conventions anywhere you live are an opportunity to directly connect with small independent creators. And yes, your big brands may have a presence there, they may not. But when you can connect with the individual artist who may be at the beginning of a journey that's going to take them far, or is working on a level that is only sustainable at this small scale, it's a much more intimate experience. It's a much more one-to-one direct support. We have a few merchandise products that allow people to say, we like what you're doing, we want you to continue it, and they can support us in that way. And it's just a lot more personal. It's a lot more intimate, and it's been in my blood my whole life, and no matter what scale things grow to, there's always going to be some version of this for us, because the door swings both ways. It's very satisfying for creator and the audience as well.
And how can people find you if they can't go to the con?
Good question. Everything will be linked to on GranvilleHouseProductions.com, and each project within that will have its own page, and some of them will have their own website, or in the case of Hollow Medium, multiple websites that exist within the universe of the story and that you can explore to find what is going on, what are all these secrets, and that little touch of the alternate reality game aspect is something that some of the projects will have, and we'll try and make that clear what people can expect in those initial announcements for those projects.
And do you do Kickstarter or not?
We haven't yet done Kickstarter. It hasn't been right for any of our projects, just in terms of schedule and kind of how those work. It's not out of the question for the future, because I've been very impressed by how some of those campaigns have been run by different projects. We're currently in sort of a more traditional thinking on terms of having a pre-order in advance and then fulfilling those pre-orders. But that being said, we have many friends that we've met here who have booths, who have successful Kickstarter campaigns behind them, and it's definitely something we're listening to. We want to learn as much as we want to put our work out there.
Do you want to talk about how it's great being two creatives who are married working together on projects?
This is an interesting question. Who do you want to answer this one?
I think we both can.
Okay, go. Start.
I think it's incredibly satisfying to have a partner who understands the creative mentality and what it is to be a creator. It's very challenging. It's very rewarding, but it's very challenging. So to be able to have somebody across the table from you who understands and who is able to give that level of support and feedback, because Nick and I both are writers specifically, we can actually give feedback on each other's written work, which is very helpful too. But I find it very, very satisfying, sometimes challenging. We don't always agree creatively, even on projects we're working on, but I think every project where that disagreement exists, it comes out the better for it, because we're having those hard conversations and we're really diving into what the project needs to be.
Definitely. The aspect of having someone who understands the plight of being a creator is, you'll talk to people who say they're too competitive for their spouse to be in the same field as them or to have the same interests as them. I found it to be completely the opposite. Perhaps it's because I do not have a competitive bone in my body, but I find it is immensely satisfying to have someone who understands the need, who understands the impetus that drives all of this, and it allows you to relate on a much deeper level. And so no two personalities are going to be alike. It's not going to work for everybody. Every relationship is different, but at least so far we have found that we are definitely stronger together, and there will be projects where she will be behind the wheel, and there will be projects where I'm behind the wheel, but we definitely offer different parts of the puzzle, different sides of the brain for these things, and it's so far worked great. Fingers remain crossed.
And once again, give me the website.
GranvilleHouseProductions.com is the website. You can search Hollow Medium anywhere you listen to podcasts. The show will come right up, and other projects will be announced right there.
So I'm Paul Thayer. I'm the writer and publisher of Project Analysis. So in the year 2090, a speedster named Crimson Pain eliminates all the heroes in existence. So the government makes a super enhanced team called Project Analysis to fight off the rebellion. It's super action-packed. There's no multiverse, no do-overs, no extra lives. I'm the writer and publisher on the series, and I collaborate with a lot of artists. This is our trade that collects our first 4 issues, and I have a mini-series and a one-shot as well.
And you have another series too?
Miniseries Omega 2090. It's our prequel. And then we just came out with a one-shot.
What's the themes of your comics?
Like superhero?
Yeah.
So superhero sci-fi.
Okay. And tell me, why did you have to write this series? Why did you have to create it?
Because we needed something that doesn't restart and redo. So this is one thing, one continuity, and going forward.
Tell me why Comic-Cons is so important for self-publishers like yourself.
To build brand awareness and meet as many customers as possible, or potential customers.
And do you find you meet fans who have followed you in the past?
Yes, for sure, 100%.
And how can people get in touch with you?
So Project Novelist, same as the title, on Instagram, Twitter, and then we also have our website where we ship everything right to your door.
Yes, so my name is Royce. I'm the creator of Stone Harbor Comics. I make sci-fi comic books, and I'll break down the two that I have available right now. This first one, it's called Biopunks. It's about our three main characters here. This is Caden, this is Naya, and Otto. And each one had a physical difference that they had altered by having this thing here called the spinal cord surgically implanted on them, and it ended up giving them powers. And so now Caden has super strength, Naya can cause temporary paralysis through her touch, and Otto can teleport. Now there's this bad guy called the Advent who's actually found a way to take and harness the energy that's stored in these spinal cords to extract that to make himself stronger. But to remove those actually would kill them, so they need to band together and try and stop him before he can do that. And so that's Biopunks. And so my second series, it's a coming-of-age story called Legend of Althea, where our main character Althea here, she gets a artificial heart transplant that gives her powers to heal people. But it comes at a cost to herself because the amount of pain that she heals, that pain gets transferred back to her. So this becomes an issue when her dad starts to fall to a terminal illness, and to try and save him in the state she's in now would cost her own life, so she needs to find a way to strengthen her powers to save her dad before it's too late.
So tell me, where did you get the idea for these two stories, and how long of a series are you planning to make them?
Yes, so both are ongoing series. These are just our first volumes, volume 1, which includes 5 chapters of the story so far. And the reason I really made it is just kind of, one, my love for science fiction, my love for comic books growing up. And if you haven't noticed, kind of like a theme going on here is I like to, deal with a lot of like tech in the medical space. And a big part is I grew up with asthma, so that was something I kind of had to deal with. My grandma suffered a really severe stroke when I was younger, and I just always was thinking about the state of like the medical field of like if there was anything that existed tech-wise that could like help her, to help her kind of like bring her back to how I knew. And that way of thinking just kind of like carried over into my love for storytelling. And pretty much that's what ended up birthing these stories that I have here now.
And is there anything, what would surprise people about both your series?
What would surprise people? I would say they would be surprised at, I think, the level of depth that I'm willing to go with the characters, the amount of diversity in them, both physical and internal. And yeah, I think just trying to bring some fun back into the comics where we all, we get so like bogged up into these stories that have been around for 50, 60 plus years. And so like everyone has an opinion on how a character should be, what direction a story should go. And I think people just find it a breath of fresh air. These are brand new stories, new characters, possibilities are endless on the directions that they can go. And, I'm excited to really dive into them and to do that. And I think people will enjoy it.
What's your hope and dreams about these comic book series?
My hopes and dreams is that, not even so much that obviously it'd be great if a lot of people knew about them, but honestly, even if it's just one person read this and got to feel like they were seen and that they mattered, that's really what is important to me.
Why are Comic-Cons like the WonderCon, Comic-Con, and other ones so important to publishers or writers like you?
It gives us an opportunity. It's important. Comic-Con and WonderCon and these types of shows, they're important because they give us a space to get our stories out there where we might not necessarily have had the opportunity before, right? Like being an indie publisher, indie writer, whatever, that was really hard. That used to be a really hard thing to do without finding somebody who was willing to take you on, or to publish you, or to bring you on to an existing series or anything like that to get your name out there. So these cons allow us to connect with the people that actually matter, the fans, directly, and we also get to see if our stories actually matter or are good, because the fans will let us know. The people here, they are not shy at expressing their opinions, so they'll let you know if they think your story is good or not.
And if someone can't come to the Comic-Con, how can they find you on your website?
Yes, if you can't come here, or just even if you can, whenever, you can find me either on Instagram at Stone Harbor Comics, also on TikTok at Stone Harbor Comics, or you can check out my website where you can buy the comics online, stoneharborcomics.com.
You have done any of these on Kickstarter?
I currently have a new project, our third series, about an asthmatic superhero that we're crowdfunding right now, but it's not on Kickstarter. It's through a newer crowdfunding website called Zoop, which is pretty much Kickstarter, but specifically for indie comics. So if you guys want to check that out, go to zoop.gg and you'll see me there.
Well, tell us a little more about this new superhero series.
Yes, so the series is called Outcasts, and it's starring our main character. His name is Aaron, and he's an ex-super soldier who developed chronic asthma through the intense experiments and operations that the secret government program had pretty much put on him to make him a super soldier. And once he got asthma, he was kicked out of the program because he was no longer deemed the perfect specimen. But in hopes to try and find his way back into the program and to get back in their good graces, he becomes a vigilante to try and fight and stop crime in hopes that they would see his good deeds and see that he's still worthy enough to be in the program. But as he turned to become a vigilante, he notices that there's this one gun running gang who's somehow gotten their hands on some very high-tech and dangerous weapons. So now he's trying to work in the shadows to uncover the root and the source of that.
And once again, give us your website.
Yes, my website is stoneharborcomics.com.
Okay, so I'm Stephanie Clemens, or Stephanie K. Clemens. I write mystery books and fantasy books. I currently have the start of 2 series out right now and a standalone. So I have steampunk murder mysteries, which are about the first 4 women to attend university in 1870 in a country that's a lot like England, but it is steam powered. And then I have a cozy fantasy rom-com that is like Cinderella meets a Hallmark movie, and there's a pet dragon in it. It basically should feel like a warm hug when you read it. And then my current release that comes out April 16th is Stripped Away, which is a high fantasy with a friends to lovers romance subplot about an evil king that is stealing magic from women against their will because only women have magic, and he's a little jealous.
And where did you find your passion for writing, and why do you love writing these novels?
I started writing as a kid. I think I wrote a play when I was 10, and I wrote a full-length screenplay in college. So I've always loved writing because I love reading. And so the passion really starts with the reading and then goes to writing. And these are just where my brain takes me, these ideas. And so I just like writing where it tells me to.
What would surprise the readers about your 2 series that you're writing now?
That I do a mix of closed door and open door when it comes to the romance side of stuff. So some of them are spicy and some of them are not, but I try to make my reader aware so they know what they're getting into, since I do write both.
I see you're doing Kickstarter. Why do you like using Kickstarter? Why is it such a great community?
So Kickstarter is amazing because you're talking about a group of people that want to support artists and help us make the things that we want to make. And so the community is wonderful just because it is full of so many supportive people that are willing to spend money on projects. And I, as an author, this was my very first Kickstarter. I got to produce books I want to see produced. So I did a hardback that's a leatherette with foil, fancy edges, colored art, and a dust jacket that's also foiled, all for a fantasy book that people were excited to see. So I love fancy books. And it also allows me to not start off thousands of dollars invested without really hope of seeing that return for a couple years.
Why do you like Comic-Cons like WonderCon, Comic-Con? Why is it so helpful for publishers and writers like you?
For me especially, I write in genres that I think are great for Comic-Cons, like steampunk, fantasy. These are my people, and I like to be able to meet up with the people that are interested in what I'm writing.
And do you meet some of your followers coming and meeting you at the con?
Actually, right before this, that's exactly what happened. I had sent a ARC to one of my followers to read for my book For the Love of Hot Cocoa, and she saw it and she was like, "Oh, you're the writer?" And we got to have a nice conversation, and it was great to like actually meet people that read my books.
And the Cocoa, that's the romantic one, right?
That is the cozy fantasy rom-com, yes.
And how many will be in that book series?
4 by the time it's done.
And tell me how people can find you if they can't go to the con.
So I have my website, which is www.stephaniekclemens.com. You can buy all my books there, as well as bookish merchandise that goes with my books. I'm wearing one of the shirts now. So I have all that up, and so I'm also available on Amazon through Kindle Unlimited, and I have 2 books on Audible, A Study in Steam and A Practicum in Perjury. You can also buy them on Barnes & Noble, the hardcover and paperbacks.
My name is Antoine Bandelay of Bandelay Books. I write mostly African fantasy one way or another, ranging from children's fiction, middle grade, young adult, and adult fiction. My series include the Essawan series, which is more of my old-timey, archaic one. So we have mythology like the Kishi, some sky pirates in that one, and then in my young adult series called TJ Young and the Orishas, which has been optioned for a motion picture. It's my most popular series, very similar to Percy Jackson and Harry Potter.
Just tell me a little more about each of the series, the starting and what their adventures they have to do.
Okay, yeah. So the Kishi, which was my debut novel, it's about a mythology that is based in Southwest Africa, in Angola. The Kimbundu people have this mythology of a charmer, a very handsome face in the front, very sweet words that they tell you, but then they entrap you and then eat you with the back of their hyena head. And if they like you enough, they'll impregnate you with a demon child. So the way that story is set up, there is a monk character who is coming to this village, and he's avoiding his dark past and trying to walk a path of pacifism. But he encounters these demons that cannot be compromised with, so he has to figure out how to navigate becoming a monk, but then also defending this village, which is being ravaged by, this very dark force. And that's basically the premise for that first book. The Skies Pirate series, that one is about a young woman named Zala who is married to her husband Jelani, who has been inflicted by stone skin. And stone skin is a disease that if you use something called God's glass, you are cursed with a curse that starts from your fingertips and then slowly creeps up your entire body. And she has to administer him potions month to month. That gets very expensive, very costly, and the ingredients are very hard to find, so she eventually has to go into piracy. And she ends up, in her first year of being a pirate, encounters the first airship to ever exist in that world. And then that is leading into the Sky Pirate Chronicles, which is the whole series. TJ Young and the Orishas, that is, like I said before, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. The main character, his sister, was the chosen one, the promised child. Unfortunately, she dies at the beginning of the book, and the community, his magical community, looks to him to see maybe if he will be the one to fill her shoes, but he's never touched magic his entire life, so he's sent to this remedial magic camp in Louisiana, in the swamps of Louisiana. And in doing so, he interacts with the Orishas, which are the West African deities, very similar to the Greek gods, but instead of, in West Africa. And then, discovering his adventures and figuring out who he is in this place of his big magical community.
Why is the WonderCon and Comic-Con so important to publishers or writers like yourself?
Well, for me, I've been to several of these live events. This is my first year doing live events. And Comic-Con feels like home, like any kind of Comic-Con, whichever one I do. Because it is where my people actually congregate. Whenever somebody walks by, I know I can talk to them about anything. Like if someone's The Last Airbender, I see an Avatar Aang over there, I can talk to him about that. If I see a Power Ranger, I can talk to him about that. Versus if I'm at a general flea market. A little bit harder to start conversations with those people, but here you can easily geek out. And my books are, obviously fantasy based, so people can, there's a good segue for that.
Tell me how people can find you if they can't go to the con. What's your website and your other socials?
If you go to AntoineVandelay.com, you'll find everything about me, including my socials, my YouTube channel, and all that.
Did you Kickstarter any of these?
Yes, I did Kickstarter for the Kishi and Tales from the Other Worlds.
Tell me why you like Kickstarter, why it's a great community for creators.
Well, it's a really good way to, not just for the funding of the project, but also for exposure, because a lot of times people go on there just to find their next read or their next audiobook, their next comic, whatever it might be. The funding part is more of like, because I think what some people don't realize with Kickstarter is that it's not like a GoFundMe where it's just like, just give me money kind of a thing. You're supposed to actually give a product at the end of that. People will know infamously there's a lot of like video games that will show up on that website and the people don't actually create the video game and it's like, what happened? So yes, what I like about Kickstarter and why I like supporting Kickstarters is because you're going to get a product at the end of that. It's not just like I'm just giving you money just because I want to be nice.
Are there any new series you're launching, or what's your
No,
hope?
I'm right now deep into TJ Young and the Orishas because it was optioned for a motion picture, which actually kind of put some of my other series on hold because I'm putting priority into that one because they have a producer purchased the rights in 2022. The rights revert back to me in 2025. So until that time, I'm kind of dedicated to just that one series.
And once again, the website that people can check all your series.
AntoineVandelay.com.
Hi, okay, my name is Eric Arrega. You can find me at ericarrega.com or Eric Arrega Art on Instagram. And I am the creator of Chingona. This is my very first creator-owned comic book. And she is a Latina anti-hero from San Diego.
It is, how does it start and what's the first arc about it?
This one is just about, the first story I have about her is there has been someone that has been taking other heroes' children, pretty much kidnapping them, and they can't find. And then when she finally finds them, she finds a tragedy within that. I won't give it away, but there's a tragedy within what she finds from the person that's been stealing or kidnapping all the kids.
And you're working on 4 more issues right now?
Yeah, so there's 3 more characters coming along, which you will see the introductory of the next one named Sundowner. That's going to come out hopefully in the next 2 months. And then throughout the year, I'm going to do the other 2 to start off 2025 with the real story arc that uses all the characters together and makes my whole universe.
So kind of like your own version of the Justice League.
So, in a certain way, yes, yeah.
And what's your hope and dreams for this comic book?
So it started off because I wanted to have a lot more Latin representation, Hispanic representation, and I really wanted to bring that out in a Latina form. So that was my overall goal, is to have a Latina character out there, but not just something that was like soft or like heartwarming. I wanted a Latina that was really powerful, and that just really showed her true emotions and what she's going through in life.
And why are Comic-Cons so important for a new writer and comic book?
Oh, Comic-Cons are really important. It's just a great way to get, for one, it gets the reaction. You get an instant reaction from people to see how they're going to react to your work, your writing, anything like that. It's like a quick, very fast way to see how people react to your stuff. 2, you have to get yourself out there. You have to get out there and advertise and promote. I've been doing this for so long, so I've been showing my artwork for over 20 years. But it's an amazingly big way to get your stuff out there. And then you just start talking to people and you start feeding off of like ideas and and working off of the energy that you get at conventions. You know, a lot of we always sit in our room drawing and writing, but we need that supportive energy to come back for us to continue to do it. And that's why it's important for me to do shows, because I just feed off the energy of all the people nerd like myself, to push myself forward and keep doing shows.
And once again, where's your website?
It's ericarrega.com, ErikArreaga.com. Yeah, or if they go onto my Instagram, I have a link in there as well.
Well, my name is Ralph Miley. I'm actually the president of the Christian Comics Art Society, but I also have a publication with Kevin Young called New Creation Comics. And New Creation Comics is an imprint in which we try to present a biblical worldview using the superhero genre and different other genres that we have. Now, the Street Fury story that is featured in the New Creation line is a story that I've been dear to my heart for years. And what I've been able to do with that is to address certain issues such as forgiveness, racism, justice, abandonment, family, and all of these things that are part of our journey. And what I like to do is each book will have like 4 to 5 chapters, and each chapter will feature 1 or 2 characters, and those characters deal with a specific theme. So one character may be dealing with the whole premise of justice and what that is, and we get to explore that character's arc in that particular story. Then we'll go to another chapter, and that character may be dealing with the issue of abuse, and we address that issue. And we're introduced to those characters and get a little bit of insight into them, because I like really character-driven stories. And the way I feel is that if the reader can make a connection with the character, then they may come back for another issue.
Is this going to be an ongoing series?
Yes, right now we have issues 1, 2, and 3 are completed. Issue 4 is completed, and all we're waiting to do is the post-production part of it.
And why are Comic-Cons like WonderCon and other cons so important to have a booth and promote your product?
Well, what it allows us an opportunity to show the light of Christ in a way that maybe the mainstream doesn't always see, because they look at Christians and they think of the people who are protesting outside. But what we do is we really try to present Christ in a way in which we connect with them. The pop culture community is a culture in and of itself. It has particular nuances and languages. And so when you're a part of that culture, it makes it a lot easier to connect with people in that. And when you make that connection in talking things like Star Trek or The Walking Dead, then you create a conversation. And when you have conversation, you're literally tearing down walls. So when you do introduce concept of faith to them, they're more apt to receive it because they're in a relationship with you.
For those that can't attend the Comic-Con, how can they find your comic book? What website?
Well, they go to the website newcreationcomics.com. You can click onto that. If they want to find out about the Christian Comics Art Society, they just go christiancomicsarts.com. In addition, the Christian Comics Art Society hosts a Christian-themed, family-friendly comic book convention called the Alpha Omega Con and Light and Life Christian Fellowship. It is a Comic-Con, but we have Christians there, we have gaming, we have manga, we have anime, we have all types of genres, and what makes it really good, it's at a church, and we get to talk about not only things like our favorite genre, but then there are times when prayer breaks out and people can talk about their faith in that type of environment. It's called the Alpha Omega Con.